Hello and welcome to episode 171 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try to F it up in our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. I'm a writer, director, and a producer.
And I'm Robbie McKane, writer, producer, director. In no particular order. Coming to you live from our homes.
Coming to you live from our homes. And we're delighted to tell you today's episode is with the fantastic Ross Boyask, director, producer, sales agent, who tells us about action filmmaking, Cannes Online, which he attended, fight scenes, and making a franchise, and his brand new feature film, which is out on July the 13th, I Am Vengeance, Retaliation. All that to come.
We're all stuck indoors, but thank God we've got the next Make Your Film event coming up on July the 9th. That's what we like to hear.
Yes, we have. That's this Thursday. You probably heard the little advert at the beginning that stuck on the top of every podcast.
Yeah, and we've got some amazing guests this time. We've got like BAFTA winning guests. We've got Netflix showrunners. We've got Hollywood movie producers. These are the people that you can ask questions to, hear their stories, their war stories, and ask them your queries.
Ask them your queries. Where's the best place to get toilet roll from?
It's basically like an online film school where you can come show up.
It is basically an online film school. The Make Your Film event is brilliant. The live one where we can all be face to face. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be back doing that soon. But for now, it's online. This Thursday. See you there.
It's going to be great. It's going to be so much fun. And what else? More importantly, Giles, what's coming up?
What?
Is it something from the mists of the Lady of the Lake, Camelot? I'm seeing kind of ancient knights. Is it Arthur and Merlin? When's this coming out? It's coming out this month.
Oh my God, it's literally coming out next week. It is July the 13th. And it's unbelievable. I'm buzzing. The press is happening. The talk is happening. We're doing a cast and crew screening / premiere next Monday as well, which is insane, at the Genesis Cinema in East London. I cannot wait to show the world this movie. Everyone worked so hard on it. It was blood, sweat and tears, literally, in some cases. And it rained every day. I'm sure I haven't told you that before.
I don't think we have.
No, not heard that? No? I've not said it rained every day? No?
I don't think I've heard that, no.
No. Guess what, Robbie? Guess what? It rained every day.
Thank you, Giles, the weatherman.
Now you know.
And next week we're going to have a great big Arthur and Merlin extravaganza on the pod, aren't you?
Yes, we are. I've got cast and crew all coming in to chuck their two penneths in on the podcast. I'm doing a big King Arthur and Merlin Knights Camelot special, where I'm getting Richard Brake, Richard Shaw, all my knights, all some of the amazing crew that worked on the movie. So that will be with you next week. How cool is that?
Amazing.
And what's and all?
Yeah.
How to make a movie.
This one with Ross, it was a bit of a long one. It's a really good interview, but a little bit long. So we're going to have the shout outs this week at the end to all the new filmmakers and new productions that are happening. So if you want to stay tuned for that, that would be great. Support those projects for people.
Totally agree. It's so important to support each other. Right, shall we get to it? This week's episode with myself, Robbie McKane, and the wonderful Ross Boyask. Enjoy. It is an absolute delight to welcome back returning hero Ross Boyask. How are you doing, sir?
Returning hero.
Yeah, you've been on the podcast, episode 14. You are a returning hero, sir. You're still making movies.
I'm certainly returning. No, thank you for having me. Yes, it's quarantine and COVID and all of that aside. I don't know how much we're going to touch on that. I guess you'll ask me about my film about that, but yes.
Yeah, yes, we will. Obviously, we'll get on to I Am Vengeance, Retaliation very, very soon. But I suppose, while you touched on COVID there, obviously, Cannes has just happened, virtual Cannes. It's literally just finished. How has that been for Evolutionary Films? How is that? Because that's the first time you've done something like that online. We weren't on the Croisette wandering around with a croissant in our hands, getting free wine here and there, running into people we know. Now you did it online. Tell us that from your experience, from your side as a film company who sat through, I imagine, tons and tons of Zoom meetings.
Well, I will say I missed my beignets and I missed pizza at L'Avion. One of my favourite restaurants. I will say that right now. Yeah. No, Evolutionary, it's been... We did attend the virtual Cannes and we screened some of our films. John Adams and Diane Shorthouse, CEO and MD, respectively, and also the producers of the film. They had their somewhat regular meetings with buyers. So in many ways, it was business as usual, except just as Zoom calls and so forth, which is obviously great. It's nice to have that scheduled. And, business was done, which is fantastic. As a sales agent, hoping to play its trade. That was really cool. I didn't attend any of the the seminar type things. I find watching a seminar online, personally, I'd rather be in the room. That's my personal feeling. And of course, it's a shame to miss out on the networking side of things, hanging out of a grand and paying €16 for a Coke or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's my bank manager
you miss it. Yeah, you miss it so much.
And Ross, do you normally look around the marché de film when you're there at the same time? Or?
Yes, my primary function at Evolutionary Films, as well as actually making films with the guys, is I'm creative director, so I'm in charge of things like acquisitions. Obviously, people send the team variously titles to have a look at or to consider as projects, but in the end, I tend to be the first port of call in terms of assessing a project or watching a screener and so forth. So it's a little bit of a shame not to be able to sort of do that in person. You get sent them through the year regardless, but there is something nice about meeting the people in person, particularly as we're filmmakers ourselves, so it's nice to be able to relate to the people bringing along titles, hoping to find a home for them. Maybe on a side note, just because I've been doing Cannes since 1999, this is only the second time that I haven't essentially personally attended.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I look at the lines on my forehead.
If we cut you, you'll bleed can. You know what I mean? There'll be sand.
Yeah, bleed rosé.
Oysters.
So I think overall for the market, it's good that there was some activity. Let's be honest. I think that's a positive thing. I think that should be taken. I guess I would just miss the personal side of it. And again, maybe that's just me. Some people may well genuinely prefer to be at home, do their calls, carry on. Yeah, we're normally based in the Riviera booth F14. We always tell people think of the fighter jet.
Yes, perfect. And does it make sense? It is. Does it make sense to have the same booth every time so people know where you are exactly?
Continuity, again, fairly obvious. Continuity is good. Regularity is good. We like the booth. You get a lot of foot traffic. Let's be honest. It's always good to have that. For all the appointments that you can schedule, it's always good to have people popping in and walking by and all of that. So, that's always a positive thing, I think.
Brilliant.
And of course, for listeners who aren't aware of this, various film festivals around the world, they have the sort of screening component and the review component, which is what's more famous. But the real kind of heart of these events is the actual film market component and all of the buying and selling that goes on, and different thousands of movies competing for acquisition, and navigating that is kind of one of the the lessons that you have to learn as an indie filmmaker if you want to go out there and sell your film.
I mean, for us on that point, we're obviously a production company as well as a sales agent and a UK distributor. So we tend to look at it from we have to look at the market from different angles, whether it's acquiring new titles, whether it's obviously trying to sell our current titles, as well as the titles we ourselves have produced. So there are different, if you like, avenues that we have to explore. We have to be fairly diligent in that because, of course, we want our films to do well, but of course we also want the films that we've acquired from other filmmakers, who we have relationships with, to do well as well. So it's about serving the buyers, serving the relationships we have with buyers accordingly, and positioning everything that we have in the same fashion, to make sure that we give every title the best shot it has, and to try and, supply buyers with the content that they need.
How does it feel selling your own titles? I know we touched on this before because you were on episode 14, like I say, so you can go listen to that. Ross goes into detail with John Adams about Evolutionary Film and his journey as well. But and I know we touched on it then, but this is, you've moved on as well since then. Vengeance came out and then I Am Vengeance, Retaliation now as well. What does that feel like when you're presenting it to a buyer and it's your film? Does John kind of do yours and you do John's so that you don't get that, this is crap, we don't want this one, this looks terrible,
and then they see the tears in your eyes
hang on,
millions on that.
Well, it's funny that you mention that because if we're honest, and being very objective, the last thing that a sales company probably wants when meeting a buyer is for the filmmaker to be there. But the first few years I went to Cannes as a budding, I was making shorts and so forth, and hoping to get into the features side of things. And I had friends who were making features, so that helped, but the first thing that I noticed, I just wanted to watch as many films as possible as a film fan, primarily genre films, but I would pretty much watch anything I could get into, particularly in those first couple of years when you just don't know anyone. You don't even know how to run it or how do you blag things and so forth, right?
Totally, yes.
You know, so for me at that point, I and my friends, we'd go and watch a movie, it'd be a goofy action movie or whatever, you know, where I live. And we would watch people coming in, and they'd stay for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and then they'd go. And they would literally be ticking a clipboard, like tick, tick, tick. Dare I say, guns, nudity, kung fu, swearing, Mickey Rourke, whatever.
Whoever was selling at the time. Yeah.
It's like, 14 instances of Mickey Rourke. That's right. Yeah, that's going to go
That's
high
a bonus. This one's going
well in a 10-minute period, because of course all of these other films are showing at the same time. So they would literally dive into a film for 10-15 minutes. They would then dive out, you know, probably into the next door palais room or whichever one they've got to go to, and move on. Some would stay a bit longer, and sometimes I think that was a testament to the film itself, or perhaps they had a different allocation of time that they were allowed to do, or whatever. Maybe they had a specific interest in the film. That obviously changes things a little bit. But when I first, you know, was attending that, I know that a lot of films that I love are kind of flawed and silly and whatever you want to call it. They tend to be very commercial. But
we call those low budget, Ross.
Well, yeah, to certainly indie. But regardless, I thought it just meant initially that people didn't like what they saw. And they were like, and walked out, because of course you can. But of course, what it actually is them having a certain amount of time. There are so many films showing at the same time. Sometimes, you know, 15, 20, if not more films showing in the same 2-hour block, give or take. They've got to get around and get to the movies that they've got on their checklist, if you like, their watch list.
And if it's not for them, if it doesn't fit into their box, if it's not action or if it's not drama, whatever they're selling, right, they might as well leave and go see something else. Yeah. I
mean, absolutely. And therefore the process can seem somewhat mechanical. And in many ways, as a sales agent, our advice to people, if we're able to get on board early with a project, you know, you want to kind of, as much as you want creativity in a production and a film to be original, and, you know, dare I say, the filmmakers to express their voices, you also want to make sure that the film does have an audience, and that audience is initially the distributor. So, dare I say it, formula works. You know, it's about finding the formula and, dare I say, doing the right thing with the formula, and making your film as commercial as possible if you want to make another film.
So what would your advice be for someone, I guess, who's a filmmaker, who's bringing their film into that world? How do you kind of juggle that mindset between the sort of sales side of it, being aware that there's a market and you know it needs to sell, and sort of still maintaining that kind of creative vision for making sure that sort of doesn't get compromised too much to an extent?
Well, obviously speaking as, dare I say, the sales agent side of it, because and a distributor, in fact, it's important to understand who your film is for. It genuinely surprises me, and I've been to a number of festivals, you know, all different sorts of festivals where you see films that are in progress and so forth and so forth. Some people have spent, you know, a few £100,000 sometimes, and they've made a film, and I always ask, who's it for? And when a filmmaker says, what do you mean? You tend to go, you don't know who your film is for? Whoa, okay. Now, obviously, there is drama and comedy and so forth, and those tend to be fairly poison words in an independent market. It's very, very difficult to sell those without sounding too mechanical here. But it's important to. But even if you do that, if you're making a drama or a comedy or whatever you want to call it, you need to know who it's for. What other films are out there that are a bit like what you've done? Who are they aimed at, and so forth? Does your film match up to, dare I say, genre expectations and so forth? Do what you want with the genre within that, but does it stack up? Is a buyer in the first 10 minutes first of all going to understand what it is? Does the film know what it is? And secondly, is it demonstrating that? You know, it may sound a bit mechanical. If you're doing an action film and you haven't had an action sequence in your first 10 minutes,
Yeah, and it's so important. And I suppose the trailer is everything as well, because you're essentially, you know, you put all the good stuff into the trailer, as much as, you know, our friends and family are going, yeah, but it gives it all away. You've got all this in the trailer. It's about selling the movie.
I mean, obviously, the two main tools you have to sell your film are your trailer and your artwork. Make sure you get high. This is all very obvious, but get high quality stills, do a good piece of artwork. With a trailer, just on this point, there tends to be two different types of trailers. We cut what you would call essentially a buyer trailer, which is essentially the film in 3 minutes, the entire film in 3 minutes as far as possible. Your audience trailer will obviously those buyer trailers do not go public. Generally, you don't show them to anybody, and then of course you have an audience trailer. They're two very different things.
Totally. I love what you said about the artwork and taking photos, and it's something that independent filmmakers miss out on and forget so much. And we understand. We've been in the trenches.
We've all done it.
I haven't got time to get a photo, but that if you got that photo, it would be on the posters, it would be on all this sort of artwork and press and bits and pieces, and you have to do it because that's what sells your movie. So if you've got
time, schedule a day if you can, or schedule an hour or whatever it is with your cast or whatever it is.
But what I like to do is to get my photographer in while I'm doing the last sort of camera technical rehearsal. Get in now because you can snap your shutter away and it won't annoy anyone. Get close, whatever we need. Let's do this. Or if the camera's just having a little setup doing something else, or reloading in the old days, or changing battery, bang, get in, get some photos. Actors are still in the same moment.
When you're selling I Am Vengeance, did you sort of have any moments where you thought back to when you were going out there to sell Vengeance? Was there anything that you thought like, right, I learned that on that experience and I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm talking to buyers? And
it's interesting because what happened was, John and Diane would probably be able to slightly be more informative on this than myself, but what seemed to happen was when we delivered the first film, which was variously known as Vengeance and I Am Vengeance, I Am Vengeance basically came about, the title came about because of our North American distributors, Saban Films and Lionsgate, essentially title changed it, and a lot of territories will change the title of your film. Japan, it's a completely different title, for example.
Totally, yes. Yeah.
But what came about when we essentially sold it and delivered it to our buyers variously, which was great, a bunch of them, as we delivered, were saying, doing a sequel? Like that. And I was like, oh, okay.
How much you going to put in? Totally.
They didn't quite go to that point. But what are you doing? A sequel? And we were like, okay. And then, so it wasn't so much that we tweaked for the sales side of it, except for the sequel is very different to the first film. There's similarities, and obviously there's two characters that return from the first movie, but it's a different kind of movie in terms of the genre, even though they're both action. But the second film was much more of an action chase movie, whereas the first one's a revenge thriller. Part of what changed it was having a household name like Vinnie Jones. This changes things dramatically in terms of we had a slightly increased budget, which was great. There's a lot more action. We kind of went bigger and better, for want of a better way of saying that. Sure. And so those improved production values and the household name do make a difference in your sales. It wasn't so much that we adjusted how we sold it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It was more about catering the product, if you like, to a higher level. Which does make sense. And suddenly you've got Vinnie Jones, and it does, like you say, now you can go to all those, like you say, pre-sell it if you like, and say, well, we've got him. Would you buy it if is that how you did it, or did you get pre-sales for Vengeance Retaliation for the sequel, if you like? I think there would have to be a fairly specific definition of pre-sales in that we kept our buyers informed through the whole process.
Right. Okay.
So rather than say we had pre-sales, again, maybe this is better answered by John and Diane, so I don't want to misspeak. Sure. But in the end, because we have good relationships with our buyers, they took the first movie. There were some territories, Germany, for example, took I Am Vengeance, the first movie, on the basis of the second movie. It doesn't always necessarily excite every filmmaker, but I come from, I became a filmmaker because of films like that.
Totally. Yeah, the old Chuck Norris films. I know you loved Revenge of the Ninja, isn't it? One of your favourite films. And that's
Commando you mentioned as well.
Commando.
Yeah. And you can definitely see that in the Vengeance films, right down to the one-liners. And
yeah, totally. It's very funny. I Am Vengeance Retaliation is really funny, as well as brilliant action and a really cool sort of action film in itself. It's really funny. And that draws you in with the characters and makes you really like them, right?
And
Thank
you're
you.
using Vinnie Jones as kind of not only his perception as like a hard man, but also he does have a sort of comedy side to him as well, which you've seen in some of his work. So yeah, it was really cool to see you draw on that as well.
Yeah, do you want to, before we dive into it, do you want to just pitch the story so then we'll play the trailer and then we can talk about it?
Just to be clear, people who haven't seen the first Vengeance film don't need to have seen it to watch I Am Vengeance Retaliation. It helps in that, you meet Stu's character, John Gold. Mark Griffin returns as his former handler, Frost, but he's almost completely different in appearance. But you don't need to see it. Obviously, if you want to watch it, please do. Stu Bennett plays John Gold, who is an ex-Special Forces soldier, kind of gone off the grid. He's now essentially a soldier for hire, and he's told that the guy who betrayed his team many years ago, which is what caused him to go off grid, who kind of this guy kind of like betrayed his own team, and some of them got killed and all of that. Played by Vinnie Jones, his name's Sean Teague. They thought he was dead. They were wrong. He's resurfaced, and Gold is given the opportunity to bring him in. Gold would cheerfully see Teague dead, but he's convinced to do the right thing. If he brings in Teague, the slate is wiped clean. He gets to have his life back, that kind of thing. He agrees, and then everything goes horribly wrong.
That's John Gold.
Wonder how many people he's killed this week.
5 so far.
I'm putting a team together, and I want you to lead it. Our target? Sean Teague. His intel and contacts alone are enough to bring down the baddest of the bad. I know what he did to you and your team, but we need Teague breathing.
You want me to bring Teague in, alive?
Steady!
Teague.
As I live and breathe, John Gold.
You're coming with me.
Yeah, of course I am. Lads!
You're a traitor. You're a murderer.
I'm going nowhere with you.
Say that to my boys.
You're the John Gold.
Yep.
Why don't you just come show us how tough you really are?
Right then. You kill those guys. I'm gonna go after Teague.
Just like old times. I can't get rid of you.
I'm gonna tear you limb from limb.
Come on!
That was the trailer. It's so much fun, and the poster itself is just wonderful. It's a really brilliant poster, really cool. It sells the movie, and I'd suggest any filmmakers out there, if they're thinking about posters, you really should, and even at this stage, look at that poster. It says exactly what it does. It's got girls, it's got guns, it's got Vinnie Jones, and it's got Stu Bennett on it, and it's cool. It's like, that looks high end, it looks brilliant. And if you're an action fan, you're going to want to watch that movie. And if you're an action fan anyway, I suggest go watching this movie. It's so much fun and cool and brilliantly well shot. And I imagine you didn't have much time to shoot it. Do you want to talk us through this process of making a sequel with a tiny bit more money, and how that works for you in terms of, shit, I've got to get it bigger and better now?
Yeah, I mean, two of the main goals behind making a sequel were, like you say, bigger and better, for a better way of saying it, particularly in terms of action, and also allowing Gold's character to open up a bit. We want him to warm up a bit. I mean, he has some funny moments in the first movie. He's obviously the good guy, but he's kind of an anti-hero, so he's a killing machine, essentially. And we figured the way to warm up Gold is to have him bounce off more characters. Hence, you get the idea of a team movie. Slightly Expendables like, but also I go back to the Dirty Dozen and all of those classic movies. I love all of that stuff. I mean, even the A-Team, to be honest, because of just like the banter and all of that stuff. So the idea was to get Gold to open up essentially by bouncing off. There's a double act in the movie, Lynch and Shapiro, played by Phoebe Robertson-Galvin and Sam Benjamin, who are essentially the comedy double act of the movie, and as well as being very competent soldiers. That was important.
Yes.
But sort of by going through the film with them, and as well as the other characters, Gold kind of warms up a bit, and and so forth. So he becomes less taciturn. He's initially very concerned about having another team, because it all went wrong the last time that happened. So there was all of that for him to come over. But also with Stu, it was really important that his character opens up somewhat with Vinnie. You never find out too much about them, but they have... Vinnie's in a lot of the movie with Stu anyway. They have a big fight in the middle in an alleyway where a lot of their stuff comes out without being too specific. When we get down to shooting this, it obviously helps to have a great DOP like Simon.
Yeah, because this is the first time he's worked with Simon, right?
Second time.
Okay.
In fact, Vengeance was his first feature, if I recall correctly, as cinematographer. And then, came back. And we've done a short since as well, and I love working with him.
The cinematography was fantastic. It looked beautiful, really enhanced sort of what, sometimes it was just rooms or whatever, and actually looked fantastic. Really how you move the camera, the two of you, how you set it up, the lighting, the look, everything on people's face. It looks high end, it looks really quality, and that's testament to both of you.
It's a full credit. I mean, Simon's amazing. He and his team, they push so hard to deliver in terms of style, in terms of storytelling, which is really important. The frame tells the story as much as anything else. So there's a lot going on. He's super energetic, very dynamic. Sometimes we rub a little bit, but I like that anyway. I'm sure he won't take that the wrong way. We have our little moments, but I like that. I think that actually helps us push hard, in terms of delivering. And I love working with him. I'd go full respect.
What do you think a good example of working with a DP is? What really do you think that you've learned during your time, and you've made loads of movies now? What do you think is a really good collaboration to have with someone like your DP, who is technically the closest person to you on a movie set?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have like a brother type relationship.
You do, yeah.
And not that I've ever had a brother, but I feel like Simon.
I know what you mean. No, I know what you mean. I'm the same. I think that's super important. So in terms of what you're actually looking for as an answer, for me, it's about communication, I guess, and about us preparing as much as is possible. We never had very much prep time. We had a bit more prep time than on first film, but so it was about really pushing across what we're both looking for. I want him to get out of it as much as possible too, as much as he's delivering for us, and dare I say me as a director, he has so many ideas. He delivers a great lookbook initially. We talk about that. We talk about influences, in terms of the sort of thing I'm going for as well. But at the same time, what's really important is the ability to think on the spot. You can shot list all you like. You can do any sort of prep you want, and then you turn around and go, you've only got 40 minutes to finish this. Regardless of and you suddenly go, okay, so that's 3 setups. We have 2 cameras. What can we do you sometimes just have to do that. Mm-hmm. You just sometimes have to do that. Yes.
And in terms of logistics, how big roughly is the camera crew? How quickly are you able to move? How much equipment do you have?
A lot of it. Simon really came loaded for bear. An amazing gaffer as well, Damien Gray, if I remember correctly. Amazing gaffer. Young and really up for it. We had 2 cameras running pretty much the whole time. We had a couple of other cameras here and there, a couple of GoPros occasionally and things like that. But primarily 2 cameras running the whole time. We had some amazing operators.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
2 cameras.
Yeah, that's kind of a luxury. Although we did lose, unfortunately, B camera on the last day, which was absolutely upsetting because we had a lot to do that day. It died immediately. It was no one's fault. Died, and we were like, oh my goodness. So stuff happens and you have to think on your feet.
There you go. Yeah.
And are you using any big lighting setups, or is it all kind of mostly using natural light and sort of stuff that's on the location?
There was a lot of exterior. It was really strange, but when I look back at the fact we shot end of September to end of October, we had a lot of exterior shooting, way more than I recall. It sounds weird being the writer, but there's a lot of exteriors in the movie, and I don't know how we got away with it. And except there was just one day. If you look at how consistent the natural light is, obviously Simon's bouncing things and doing all sorts of other stuff as well. But there is one day. Well, there's a scene when the guys steal a car, they kind of break into a car. That was the one day where it was kind of cloudy and grey. But because it was all set in that one area, it didn't seem to matter. We kind of obviously tried to balance it in post a bit. That was the one day where it was like, oh, what are we going to do? Because in theory, it's all supposed to be this kind of consistent weather. But we did seem to get away with it, which is nice.
Do you plan your action shots meticulously about where the camera's going to go, you and Simon? And you've got 2 cameras, so you thinking about that? Because it's difficult to light and
it's more. It was okay. So in terms of the action, I mean, there are 19 fights in Vengeance. Well, sorry, I'll start again. There are 19 fight sequences in I Am Vengeance Retaliation, plus some shootouts, plus some car stuff and explosions and things.
It's great.
A bit ridiculous, but yes. Someone we should mention here specifically is Tim Mann.
Yes,
an extraordinary. He's an extraordinary fight coordinator, like choreographer.
Wow.
I've worked with obviously Scott Adkins a lot of times, and so many other people. Amazing person to work with, very creative, very collaborative. And again, although we didn't have a lot of time previous to shooting, he prevised a significant number of these fights. So he got together with his own team, shot them on whatever he shot them on, like a phone or whatever he did, and then cut them together. And again, he couldn't do it for every fight, but he did most of them because most of the fights are fairly, truncated sequences. It's all about moving the story forward. And one of the things that was great about Tim was, first of all, he understands that the action comes from character. And to put this simply, because to me, a fight scene is like a conversation. It's like an argument taken to extreme physical levels, if you like. A fight scene should have story points just like any other scene, really. And of course, you're going to have moments that are just for the heck of it, like an amazing kick or someone being thrown through a brick wall or whatever it is.
Cool. Why not? Why would you not do that?
You're gonna have those moments, but primarily it should be about story, and fighting should come from a character. Fighting should be like their dialogue, right? So if Stu, playing John Gold, gets attacked by 10 different people, in theory, those 10 different people should attack different ways, depending on their training and their experience and their personality. Even if they're cannon fodder guys, they should sort of have their own way of attack. And then, of course, in response, he would respond different ways to that, whether he takes a hit or throws a guy. And again, the opportunities are endless, if you like. So that was really important to me in terms of, if you like, how the characters interact and how a fight scene should move the story forward or propel the story forward, if you like. Tim is very savvy to that, which is great. Obviously, the performers themselves bring their own flavour and their own, if you like, their character. Katrina Durden, Phoebe Robinson-Galvin, these women were amazing to work with.
Amazing fights as well. It's great. They were good to work with too. It was great to watch.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, they were phenomenal and obviously super different to Stu. Like couldn't be more different. We obviously have Jean-Paul Lee as well, who is incredible.
I love that he was in this movie. Yeah, it's just such a great fight. And
I'm such a fan. I'm such a fan of his. You've got Greg Burridge, who's an amazing wrestler as well, and again, screen fighter. So all of these different people kind of getting, mixing up. Bentley Kalu as Renner as well, a very cocky American guy, and
totally Joe Egan, who's also in Arthur and Merlin as well.
He is. I love Joe so much.
So you're scheduling it, you're planning it. You've got your brilliant Tim Mann choreographing it and prevising it. So then when you come to shoot it, and you've rehearsed it, is it a little bit easier now you're in these amazing locations that you had, by the way, to then go, right, now let's add to it, let's jump through this is going to fall down, you're going to go through here, and how are we going to shoot it?
That's a good point. So Tim grabbed the cast where he could. Like, obviously, there weren't a lot of gaps, but he would grab casts where he could to rehearse them. There were a few bits, as I recall, where they pretty much didn't have a chance to rehearse, so we just did it on the spot, essentially. But everyone is super experienced, from Katrina, Phoebe, they're all, for the most part, the cast are very experienced in picking up choreo, and they know how to take the hits, which is super. You don't want anyone to get hurt.
No.
But in terms of just the attitude of doing it and keeping going, and obviously telling us if there's an issue, that's really important too. Don't just be a hero. Like, if you hurt yourself, tell us, all of that stuff. But so they were all really, really great. Tim would, take them aside where he could. I got to see a little bit of him working. I wish I'd seen more, because I loved seeing him working with the actors, with the performers. So they would do that. Then, of course, we would come to set. We would have a breakdown. Tim would primarily take over in terms of working with Simon and the camera guy. I was there, and I would absolutely give my 2 pence, and we would all be happy. If I had a real concern, I would express it, but let Tim get on with it. There's no time for mucking about. Dare I say, if I had an opinion, I would obviously express it. If I didn't understand or if I didn't like something, I would certainly say so. it was so smooth as a process. Simon and again the other camera guys would just be very attentive. They could see the previs where it existed as well, so that obviously helped to let them know. Obviously our first AD Marius had to know that too, so we knew how many setups we were going to do. Having the two cameras helped for the most part. Sometimes you would just concentrate on one camera for speed, you know.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's a false economy having two cameras.
Yes, with two cameras, because you've lit one way and then suddenly you go, now you've got, and then to cheat the body round, and it's, like you say, false economy.
But we would normally get the other camera shooting something, even if it was fairly similar. I would sometimes just say, just get on there, but just stay on that person's face.
Yeah, so or the hands, or follow something.
Exactly. Yes. Or be on the ground when they fall to the ground, or something like that. So you get lots of little cutaways are very helpful. But primarily, we would essentially push through each piece, and a very important thing, again, I don't know how many people understand this. When you're doing a fight sequence, one of the things you should avoid doing at all costs is shooting just coverage of a fight, like making your actors do the fight for 2 minutes and then do it again from another camera angle, then do it from another camera angle. It's important to understand the material you need, and then sort of fire and forget, if I can say it that way. So nail that piece, move on. Get a safety if you need to, but move on. Nail that piece, let them forget it, move on. It's a much more efficient way of doing it. But you do need to I think you need to understand editing to get that. And I think you need to understand the ability of to overlap as well, overlap movements between the setups.
Yes. Because
sometimes we would shoot out of order, simply because of, like you say, you don't want to keep changing the lighting around. You want to sort of shoot out one direction if you can. Sometimes.
Yeah, so therefore you do the first fight scene and then go into the second fight scene, then turn everything around in terms of lights, and then go back and do the first and second.
You might do that, yeah. You might have to kind of piecemeal it. If you're an editor, dare I say, I've edited action for a long time or whatever.
You're very good at it. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure. You are though. You cut all your trailers and everything. It's brilliant. Kind. It's so very talented.
But there's an understanding of what is required. You always want a safety. You can't just rely on it. But I guess what I'm getting at is when you understand frame, when you know that you can play with the frame a little bit too, you know what you can get away with, you know what you don't need, and you know the things where you go, I have to have this. I know I need this shot, guys. Whatever we're doing, there are a couple of pickups that we needed to do through, not many, a handful in total over the whole shoot. And I would go on occasionally kind of say, I really need that shot of this, like that hand on this. I really need that. And the first AD eventually, he was amazing. Don't get me wrong, he's trying to schedule
totally, but they're trying to move forward and again. But you got it in the wide, you got it in the close. No, I need the real close.
I really need, And it was we're talking about not even a handful in the end.
Totally, and that comes from you knowing your edit and knowing how to edit. I think all directors should at least have a strong basic understanding of editing. I think it's so important. You like say, I'm on set and you'll suddenly go, how am I going to get from that scene to the next one? Planning all that. I haven't got a close up. I can't come to the wide, and you need it. You can't rely on old pickups in 2 years' time. No. Get it on the day.
Get it while you've got people where you can.
Even if it's my hands, I've done this before where I've just put my hands in and gone, I'll press it, I'll do it, or get someone else's. Just hold that, because when in an edit, you'll never know. No one watching it would ever know unless it's a massive hairy hand on a girl or whatever. You're not gonna know, and even then, it's funny. Even then,
I was gonna say, but even it's also understanding things like you don't know until you get to the edit. You don't know. You may be perfectly happy. You do not know, because you don't know what's going to be happening the minute before to the minute after. You don't know when you're going to cut something out.
Absolutely right, Ross.
So you need a few choices.
For the sort of safety shots that you mentioned, obviously, that method of doing the choreography where you know almost exactly which shot, you're not just shooting masters of the scene from various angles. That's sort of a bit mindless when it comes to action. But if you do need to get those safety shots, what are your kind of rules of thumb for that? What things do you like to look out for to make sure, okay, that's always going to be useful, I'll need that?
Yeah, it's things like, okay, so in drama scenes, it'd be like, hand on a door handle, right? Like, or dare I say, a cutaway of a watch if someone's looking at the time, or
inserts, basically.
Inserts, but usually, yes. So it's sometimes it's about cutting time out of something, depending on how something flows, or sometimes it's. So yes, time is one thing. Detail is another thing. Sometimes it's about seeing a technique. Without being too precious. Sometimes there's a thing that's like an arm lock or something that you just want to see. It kind of adds some power to it when you twist an arm for example, and you just get that crunch of a joint kind of being manipulated. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that kind of idea, and then you cut to the wide for the next, like if someone's being thrown over. So it's kind of almost like for geography and for timing, sometimes for detail, and I think it comes from experience, like as in. It's in many ways, it's as you're watching it. So it's kind of, what are you understanding from what you're watching on a monitor, essentially? And then what do you feel like if you're going to move on, if you know that you're about to move on to the next piece, because you want to keep moving, but you're in position and all it basically requires is moving. You might have to swing a lens. Ideally, you don't want to do that. But, if it's just about getting it really as much closer and saying, look, what I really want to see is when their hands connect, I just want to get that moment. I just want to get that moment. Can we just grab that? You try to do it as little as possible. But if you really feel it's... And I think it's an instinct thing, and I think it's an experience thing. And it comes down to storytelling, actually, regardless of time.
So it's almost like watching the performance back and seeing, like, what are those kind of key dramatic punctuation moments that you're going to want to highlight later in the edit. And it's spotting, learning to spot those, basically. And it's almost like a punctuation point in some ways. Sometimes it's as simple as a reaction from someone being hit and then recoiling and then coming back in to do the next moment. You know what I mean? So so I guess what I'm saying is, whatever it is, it's story based, and it's story based relating to how the action is flowing.
Yeah,
I hope that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And your geography was really great in this movie because there was a lot going on, and a lot of people. But yet I knew where everyone was at any given moment in terms of you're behind a barrel, or there's 4 people behind a wall, or they're running through there. And you knew the eye lines were pretty much all spot on. I think they were. And, that geography side of it is so important that filmmakers do forget, especially with an action film like this, how important that geography is, because the audience need to know who's where at what time. Because if they're confused, they go, hang on, and you don't want the audience ever doing that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to refer to it, I don't know if you do, but spatial relationships, I guess. And for me, that I first became aware of that term really in kind of like gunfights, in terms of where everybody, particularly in multiple locations, if you're like
Sergio Leone films,
exactly,
but that's great.
Precisely, not just the geography, but sort of where everyone is in relationship to each other. And again, this is still like a conversation. If you think about a conversation scene where people are sat around a table, if you've got a dining room scene, which to me is a nightmare, just the idea of doing a dining room scene.
Where do you put the lights?
And also, I don't know about you, I've also got in my head, so I suppose you do a pass where you keep going round and round the table.
Yes, of course,
And then we go in
Grey's Anatomy
shot.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. But you know what? I think it's a nightmare. But then you sort of want to get your 2 shots of your individual. Like, to me, that's a 2 days filming to do people having a chat. And but I guess what I'm relating that to is, it's the same with a fight. If you've got, in the final fight, you've got like 4 fights happening at the same time. It's almost 5 actually, sort of happening at the same time. And we variously intercut between them at different intervals, right? And what was super important, and here's also where the production design team come in. Paul Burns and his team were amazing. We were shooting in something called Hush House in RAF Bentwaters for that final
where the huge tunnel is with behind them. Yeah.
It looks like something out of Event Horizon. We a lot of productions have filmed there, and we understood that what we had to do when we looked at it, it's just a big cavernous space. We need to have specific sectors for each fight to be happening. We start off with like a big wide, and everyone then splits up, and kind of like into their corners. And it was very much about quadrants in that location. We did actually map it out, and not all of them, but there were a couple of those fights where it was like, we simply cannot film in that direction because we will then see there is nothing going on.
I wanted to touch on working with actors, especially in action comedy like this and really dramatic action like this, especially someone like Vinnie Jones, and getting this time, how long you had with him and the time, and just working with actors on something like this that people do go, oh, it's an action, we can just, whatever with the acting. I thought the acting was great. I thought some brilliant performances, really fun.
Thank you.
So how do you do that? Did you rehearse? What do you do to get those performances so they make sense?
I wish we'd rehearsed. I spoke to pretty much every actor, I think. Yeah, virtually every actor. before the shoot. Certainly all the primary people and so forth. The main characters, I mean. I had a very long chat with Vinnie before he came and shot with us. I met up with people where I could, which wasn't obviously very many, but we tried. But I encouraged everyone to ask as many questions as possible. I encouraged everybody to talk to each other. Like, I know that Sam, Benjamin, and Phoebe Robertson-Gowan did have some conversations. I don't know if they met up at all, but I know they had some conversations. I believe Katrina did as well. Katrina Durden, pardon me, did with Phoebe, if I recall.
And what that does, like I say, because then they have that chemistry which comes across massively in the film. They're all brilliant performers, and that shows because you feel they like each other or they've got that history or whatever, and it does work.
Yeah, I was really pleased. I was particularly pleased with Sam and Phoebe. I mean, I was pleased with everybody. I think that, Sam and Phoebe obviously worked very hard on having that kind of instant chemistry, but they've already been working together and kind of, muck about and so forth, but still are proper. Well, it was really important to me that the teams, regardless of it being funny here and there, they were still supposed to be good at their jobs, if that makes sense.
I totally get that.
I don't like films. I really have a problem with films where people are bad at their jobs. They're a professional team of burglars, and then they just
one of them's useless.
Right,
falls down, makes a noise.
Don't get me wrong. If it's part of the story, that's fine. If you're bringing on someone who's new and doesn't know, fine. Like, that's part of the story. But if you're setting them up as this pro team of whatever, and at least one, if not more, are just bungling, and it's not the point. I've seen a number of films like that, and you just go, what? So that was important to us.
And what about someone working with Vinnie then? Someone like that, who's this, essentially your star. Obviously, we love Stu Bennett a lot, and he's the star of the movie. But Vinnie is the name of signing the movie. So how was it working when he came on set? Because how was the vibe with working with someone like him, especially in action where you do? He's got to properly do the punches and he's got to get stuck in. What was that? And was it a great feeling for you as well to be working with a Hollywood actor like him?
He just brought with him a wealth of experience. It was funny. Just before he came to us, he was working on Arrow, the TV show, which I love. And he was actually working with one of Stu's close friends. I believe his name is Cody Rhodes in the episodes. Right. And so when they were talking, they got on really well. And when they were talking, apparently he said, I'm going on to do this thing, and it's this guy, Stu Bennett. So I don't know the whole story, but apparently Cody really spoke well of Stu, and that was really helpful, obviously, sincerely, and then Vinnie came and joined us and found what Cody said to be true about Stu. He's wonderful to work with, very humble and very modest, but also very talented and capable. And so I think they got on really well. And obviously they have essentially sports careers, that they can kind of relate to. And if I remember also, I think Stu was quite a big Vinnie fan, given here the fact that he was obviously a British guy, not but based in America now. So working with Vinnie was great. In fact, one of my favourite things while shooting Iron Vengeance Retaliation was watching Vinnie in takes. He would do take one. We would do take one, which was great, absolutely fine. When we would reset to do a second take, you could see that he was kind of thinking about how everyone else had been within the scene. And then he would give, if you like, a modified version in take two. And I don't mean he would change anything wildly, but he would perhaps, focus on another particular character in the scene a bit more or whatever, or give specific looks, specific reactions. And so to me, seeing that process was fascinating. And then take three, we usually do about 2 or 3 takes most of the time. Again, he'd make another adjustment, not so obvious necessarily. And I just found that fascinating. I found that as a filmmaker, and again, looking for the story points, if you like, I found that great. It showed he was actually considering what was going on in the scene. He wasn't just there to just say it and go on. He really was thinking about it and kind of interacting. Same goes with the action. He he was doubled here and there, obviously. A great stunt guy, Aaron DeStreet, based in Brighton, my hometown.
He looked just like him. It was great. It's great.
Fan.
Perfect.
He's a lovely person to work with as well. Did great. But when Vinnie was doing his own action, he did what I call throwing with intent. Like, if he throws a punch, it looks like he's trying to kill you, which is nice, because acting is required in fight scenes. You know what I mean? I think some people dismiss it. It's that you've got to have emotion in there. You're telling a story. And it's
a hard skill.
Yeah, and he picks up that choreo very straightforwardly, nailed it. We moved on. It was great. That was really.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and again, rewarding, straightforward, dealt with it, had good humour. And yeah, no, it was fantastic. And again, for me, as someone hopefully slowly rising up as a filmmaker and trying to grow, working with someone like him was invaluable for me.
Yeah, absolutely, and really well done. Is there any tips and tricks? I know we've talked loads, but is there anything that you've learned for anyone coming up now, first time or whatever? Because let's say you're making your first film, Left 4 Dead, and where you are now and your journey. Is there anything you could give advice-wise to someone trying to make their first film or their second film at the moment, from your perspective? I
mean, some of this again, maybe we've already covered, but think about your audience. Think about the market. Like do some research, see what's out there. If you're very if you are very intent on making a specific type of film, whether it's art house, whatever the type of film, have a look at the similar types of films, see where they are, see where they've gone, see who represents them, see who's putting out financially the films the film that you want to make. It doesn't mean you'll necessarily be involved with those people, but have a look at how they're being marketed. And be realistic about what you are doing. Like, be realistic about why are you making the film? Who is it for? Don't fall under that spell of everyone's going to love my movie. Like, why wouldn't they? As much as I want, I want every film to succeed, quite honestly. But you do watch things and you go, what's it for? Like, who is it for? And if you can't answer that, just think again. Just think again. It's a business proposition. Sorry, I probably sound like a bit of a machine, but it's so important. I totally agree with you.
These are the things people need to know.
Yeah.
You can't be naive about that aspect of the industry at all.
And speak to people. People, you might have to try a number of times. People will speak to you. And in fact, if you're able to engage someone like they're like a sales agent or distributor or whatever early, they will. You don't have to agree with everything everyone says, but they will say to you, "Listen, before you do this, think about this, think about that." If you're in a position to, because this is rare, if you're in a position to spend money on, say, cast, like actual cast, sales agents and distributors will be able to advise you on what's genuinely worth spending money on. I know that sounds terrible and again mechanical, but it's amazing how many people say, "Well, we've got so and so from Game of Thrones." Well, everybody's got a Game of Thrones actor. So when people present their films to a sales agent, and they present it in a way that's like, "Aren't you lucky to be looking at my film that has this actor in?" Like, you should be confident. Don't get me wrong. Be confident and be positive. But sometimes that stuff comes across as, okay. Like from our perspective, it's like, okay.
Yeah. So either you need a name that actually can sell, which is tough in this industry we're in at the moment, or don't bother. Just have some up and comers and then save your money for on screen.
But be strong with your shot. Like whatever your choices are, like whatever your however you present your film. If you're going for, and I know, look, this is the obvious one, horror, whatever you want to call it, or action or thriller, whatever it is, make sure your film is that. Like, make sure it is representative. You can do what you want with it, subvert the expectations and everything, of course, but really make sure your film, like, for example, we've been sent films this is gonna sound terrible, we've been sent films that say we're a sci-fi movie, and we go, okay, great, sci-fi's good, and it's a sci-fi because it's got a talking computer in it. You gotta go, it's not sci-fi.
Yeah, it's what would you call that then? A drama with a computer?
Well, like a her rip-off or whatever. You kind of go,
right. Yeah, okay.
Near future kind of.
Near future. It's a new genre we've set up, but it's difficult because
Black Mirror, is that genre?
Black Mirror genre.
Well, but you know what though? If you say you have like a Black Mirror-ish.
Yeah, that itself is a genre. And it has, we joke, but
right. But if it has, that, I'll give you a really good example. I don't know if you guys have ever seen. There's a Hulu show called Into the Dark, which is essentially a feature. It's a feature I think it's still going. I think season 2 is still going on, and it's a feature. It's Blumhouse, which is great, and every one of them, season 1. Barring a couple, they're not supernatural. There are a couple that have supernatural elements, but they're mostly what I would call thrillers, essentially. Edgy, and sometimes nasty or whatever. Not very gory, a few moments here and there. But they work as thrillers. They're all like 82 minutes. They're tight. They have, I would say, pretty good actors. They're not necessarily movie actors, but they are, solid choices, really efficiently made. And a bunch of them, I'm like, I could just go and shoot one of these with my mates, like good, talented friends, and probably sell it. Probably with the right, you probably want to go a bit darker and a bit more obviously horror, whatever.
Yeah, decent poster, decent trailer.
Absolutely. Most of them are like they work very well within them. Yeah, they're one location primarily, 3 or 4 actors, sometimes a few more, but it's very tight. And I'll be honest, as someone who's trying to make more projects, I've often thought, if I was doing a one location movie, and my brain goes, I'm not interested, but actually I should be. I should be. These are really good examples of films where you go, you could do that and be commercially exciting.
Amazing advice. Thank you, Ross, so much for your time. This has been brilliant. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you on your socials?
Oh my goodness. Well, my address is
Go on, give us your address. I can see your kitchen. Is that a microwave behind you?
Yeah, it's a microwave. Those green things are amazing, by the way. They're fantastic for you. Anyway, it's getting weird.
Green thing.
Those green things. A social media thing. So for me personally, I'm at Ross Boyask on all the social things. If you'd like to follow Evolutionary Films, we are at Evo Films UK. And to remind people, again, production company, sales agent, and UK distributor, we are always looking for products that work, in various stages, putting it out there to the filmmakers.
There you go. Perfect example, everyone. There it is. Evo Films, you can find them online. The link will be in the show notes to them.
And then just to follow, if you wish to follow the antics of the Vengeance franchise, it's at Vengeance Film UK. I wish we'd found a better title now, but it was originally called Vengeance, guys.
So yeah, it's not your fault.
At Vengeance Film UK on all of the things in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And we'd love to hear from people. It's great to be connected to filmmakers and fans and action people or whatever. It's lovely to talk to everybody. And of course, it's all coming out. Both of us are in the race on July 30th. It's like the election.
Great. It's similar. Very, very similar. What's great is that we're coming at a time where it's still sort of locked down, so people are still looking to watch and buy things. So it's good for us. It's good timing. And hey, it's not a competition. We're just glad that our films are out there, in my opinion. That's because
I want to win.
One tweet from Vinnie and you've won.
You never know. No, but I really want to watch this. I'm really excited. I'm such a fan of that genre, if you like, or subgenre. Arthur, Merlin, Camelot, all of that. I'm really excited.
Good.
Really excited.
Well, I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to you buying it so that we go ahead of you in the charts. No, I'm joking. I'm like, what have I done? What have I done?
Robbie, a documentary here. It's like a broadcast.
Yeah.
This is where the war began.
Totally, yeah. Netflix, Amazon. Which one? Is it Vengeance, Arthur? Which one? Robbie, where can people follow you?
It's just at Robbie McKane, Twitter, Instagram, the whole shebang.
So enthusiastic right there.
Well, I'm following you. I'm going to follow you now. Hang on.
Well, Ross is doing that. You can follow me at Giles Alderson. You can follow the podcast at Filmmakers Pod. If you do want to be on, you do want to get in touch, email us thefilmmakerspodcast@gmail.com. Like I say, next week we have the fantastic cast and crew from Arthur and Merlin. We're going to do a whole how we made it. I imagine, I haven't recorded it yet. It should be so much fun. So that'll be next week. So do join us for that. And remember, you can go out there and make your indie film. As Ross says, remember who your audience is and go and make it. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do it, it is your duty to send that elevator back down. Ross, you're amazing. Mention your podcast as well for everyone, because it's a cool podcast as well.
So it's a slightly different. By the way, I am following you now, Robbie, so beware. No.
Live following.
So I co-host, if you like, a podcast with my very long time friend and first producer, in fact, Phil Hobden, who produced Left 4 Dead and 10 Dead Men, before wisely doing a real life.
A real career.
Who's a wonderful place. Family's wonderful as well. But it's called Ross. It's called Ross and Phil Talk Movies. I think it is literally at Ross and Phil Talk Movies. I should be able to be a better promoter of the podcast, but you can find it quite easily. And it should literally be called Ross and Phil Talk Shit About Movies, because the whole reason it came up, we'd done podcasts variously before. There was a thing we did called Filmsploitation, which was a lot of fun, but it came about because we would have these just hour and a half or whatever long ranting phone calls about films. basically.
So you thought, why not make it a podcast?
Why not just inflict it on everybody else?
It's so much fun. It is. If you like that kind of stuff, you like listening to people who love movies talk about movies, Phil and Ross is a definite one to listen to. A link to that will be in the show notes.
The artwork is of an 18 certificate, which is
always promising.
Well, I was going to say,
I can already see there's an episode on Danny Trejo. So,
right. So Phil,
sign me up.
I believe Phil interviewed Danny a while ago. It's fun and enjoy.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, enjoy. Oh, and by the way, the Make Your Film event, I have obviously promoted this as much as possible. It's this Thursday, the 9th of July. Amazing guests. Come along. It's online. It's a couple of quid, and that all goes to the Film and TV COVID Relief Fund charity. So come along and learn and ask questions with the amazing Hollywood producers Todd Garner and some BAFTA winners called Nyasa Hardiman and Dara Resnick, showrunner. It's going to be ace. Come join us. It's the 4th one in this. Hopefully we're all back face-to-face soon, but for now, that is the Make Your Film event. So as promised, we're doing the shout-outs now at the end of the show. So here they are, all these wonderful people who have been so lovely as to send us messages or tweets. This is just a handful. I can't give it to everyone. These are special people. Are you a special person? Then shout us out on Twitter. Give us some love and say how much you like this podcast. Share and subscribe to us. And why not give us a 5-star review on iTunes while you're there? Shout-outs go to Christopher Hughes, Chloe Producer, Dom Gilday, Dave at Lowlight Pictures, Vanessa Bailey for completing her Kickstarter campaign for her film Small Talk. A massive congratulations to you. Alex Martin from Big Bang Films, Kevin Halden from the 365 Flicks podcast, which I will be appearing on his wonderful podcast very soon. If you're not listening to his podcast, then do. Andy Fosbury, he's a composer and a wonderful one at that. And Mark Coleman, who was inspired enough to send us a wonderful email explaining how much this podcast had inspired him to go out and make his indie film for whatever he could do it. So good luck, Mark, and let us know how you get on. That's this week's shout-outs. Ross, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time and talking to us.
Guys, you've been so kind. It's been so nice to see you face to. I know we were trying to do it in person, really. But
yes,
it's lovely to see you face to face regardless. Welcome to my kitchen.
Thank you. I Am Vengeance, Retaliation is out on July the 13th. Do support this brilliant action film and go out and watch it. Ross is an amazing guy. And get in touch with Evolutionary Films. You might have a film they want to make. Sure. What more do you want from this podcast than that? Robbie, thank you. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Next Tuesday, it's the King Arthur special. See you then,
Can't
everyone.
wait for that. I'm really excited about it.
See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.